I'm not gonna say I'm the most familiar with all these streamers, but it's a streamer called Cinna, Valkyrae, who I do know. Never actually watched the stream, but she's been around for a while, and Emiru, who I've seen here and there. But the Cinna girl, I'm probably the least familiar with. But it seems like it was
She's
her.
popped off like the past year, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like I've been
More
seeing more
new.
shorts and clips of her, but I don't know. Like I don't know where she came from. She just kind of popped out of nowhere. Um, but respects to her. But it seemed like she was doing a marathon with Valkyrae and Emiru doing a IRL stream, and in this IRL stream, there was a guy, and I haven't seen the entire stream, but just from what I've seen, there was a guy who appeared in the stream and took a photo with them, and then like half an hour later, he's back in the stream wearing a completely different outfit, and he's asking. I think he's trying to quote unquote riz up Emiru and like asking for her number, and they're very clearly uncomfortable, and she like denies him. And he just continues to follow them and follow them and follow them, and then it gets to a point where he's actually like advancing on them, getting closer, and they're trying to call on security. I think they're at an amusement park, and they're trying to call the security or like a fair or something to get in between them, and the camera person trying to get in between them, and he's like saying, I'll kill you on the stream. It's wild. It's absolutely crazy.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I just wanted to get you guys' general thoughts on this and kind of the state of IRL streaming in general, because that's probably the most popular streaming category these days. And I've always thought that to me, this seems like a crazy security risk. I know that you usually have security guards, and it seems like they didn't have like dedicated security guards, which is crazy as they're all women, especially. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? And this is just wild.
Yeah, it's sad to see. Firstly, I just want to note that like it's so disappointing seeing half of the reactions being like, oh well, like they should have known better and hired like, you know, security for that. Like it shouldn't be the norm if you want to go to the fair with some friends that you need a security team, you know? And that especially shouldn't be a thing you think you'd need when you kindly reject someone for like, you know, wanting your number or whatever. But that's the first thing. There's been a lot of victim blaming going around, so that's sad to see. And I think like just with IRL streams, it's always been such a strange concept to me because typically, I mean, I know technically you're allowed in public to like video and take a photo of anything, but typically, you know, if you want to take a photo of someone, you ask them, or like that. There's an idea of consent and like being able to say, yes, I do want to be recorded, whatever. I feel like IRL streaming has destroyed that and turned almost every random encounter or thing in the world into an opportunity to like clip farm. And like, you know, you could see a family and think you're being funny, and like maybe it'll be funny on TikTok, but for the actual people in that moment, it's probably very weird and maybe disturbing. So I have a big issue with IRL streaming personally. I don't blame them for doing this stream because I mean, being at the fair, it's whatever. But it's scary too because of things like that where people can track you down super easily, and you know, there are a lot of creeps in the world. You never know what someone's gonna do, especially when they have your location. And when you're a woman too, just like in today's culture, like, you know, it's not safe.
100%. It's so funny too that Dre had shared this on like as part of like our planning for the episode, because this is probably the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning. Like I woke up this morning,
Same, yeah.
grabbed my phone, and this was like the first thing I saw on my feed, and I was so confused because I'm not even familiar with these streamers. I'm not even crazy tapped into the streamer world. But yes, in the short time that I have seen IRL streaming pop off, which I believe it normally pops off more in the summertime because, you know, weather's nicer, people are out and about. I've heard that that's kind of the more popular content that people like seeing. But it is scary to see, and I think that's my biggest thing. I remember when AMP had moved to New York last summer, so you had like Anam and Kai and everybody doing these IRL streams in New York City, and I remember being nervous for them because as a native New Yorker, I was just like, man, I know how ruthless New York can be. Yes, they were in Manhattan, which is generally like a safer area, but even in today's day and age, I'm like, is Manhattan even safe? Like, I don't even know. And obviously, those guys had security, those guys had people, had the right people around them, and I think it went to show, like, they did a good job of kind of maintaining order in throughout those IRL streams. But even then, I was like, man, New York City is such a densely populated area where you are bound to get caught up in a mob and essentially get arrested again for inciting a riot like they did like not too long ago, right? So seeing this happen, it just like you guys both mentioned, it kind of exposes the reality of just how dangerous it is to stream and just be out and about with no security, with no like protection. So definitely hurts, or is just disturbing to see. But it does make me wonder, like, since it's a growing thing, are we going to continue to see things like this? Obviously, I hope not. But it's scary because you see that there's a lot of people out there who do not care, you know, who will not take no for an answer, who will do everything they can to, whether it's get like their 5 seconds of fame, or to like, you know, like, yo, I asked for a photo, give me my photo, or like, yo, I asked for your number, give me your number, you know? So it's scary. It's so scary, and it just makes me scared because this is such a growing form of content.
And by the way, like, I mean, the dude looked like younger than us, and I'm willing to say, like, probably grew up on some of that red pill content too. So like, this is almost a full circle moment of like someone watching that content and having an expectation for something that just in reality it doesn't go down like that, and then having that terrible reaction.
100%.
Yeah, I've always been like, for me, like, I've always been super scared of like the concept of IRL streaming. Like, this the idea of doing something like this is always super like terrifying to me. Not that it, and I'm just like a random dude. I'm not some like attractive girl that all these dudes goon over in the chat constantly every day, which like makes up a big part of their fan bases for sure. And then if you sit in your room, that can only go so far. But like, there's definitely a lot of deranged people who make up a large chunk of these fan bases, who are, like Eric said, it's more important to them to get their moment to potentially interact with one of them than realize, oh, I'm on camera filming my potential crime in real time, and I could potentially like do serious time or something, all because I just need to get in contact with this girl. Like, if someone's really that like far gone that like doing this in real time on camera, it doesn't matter to them, like, there are serious like security risks to doing something like this. And for me, it's always been like, you have to put a delay on it. I know they don't want to do that. They want to keep the chat like as up to date as possible, but it's like, you have to put a delay, or you have to have security guards, one or the other. But for me, like, it's so scary to just,
or just don't IRL stream.
Oh yeah, that too. That's, to me, that's number one. I'm never doing
if anything, you know, treat it like a birthday party, man. Like, rent out like a golf course or a fair. You can afford to do that. Rent it out.
Yeah.
And, you know, bring your friends and have a good time. Sure, it's not the same, but if you actually wanted to go to the fair, you don't need to stream it. So
you really don't need to. And it's like, it's not that deep. Like, you need to have like people that aren't part of your stream in the stream. Like, if they have the money, you can rent out the fair for 2 hours and do a stream.
And I don't even say this as like a way to blame. Just like
just a certain realistic.
Just a realistic,
If you're that, especially if you're on their level, I'm sure they're like smaller streamers who are IRL streaming. I still wouldn't do that, but like, no one's looking for you, bro. But like, especially people on this level, like, these are, even if I don't watch them,
these are
I know these
streamers.
are massive streamers.
Yeah.
You just a certain like Speed, for example. this dude's going around the entire world.
I'm
Streaming.
surprised something has not happened to him.
Exactly. I'm like, dude's
Like,
in,
I am genuinely
crazy parts of the world
shocked.
where like I wouldn't want to step foot in. No disrespect to these countries, but like they're just general some seedy places.
Yeah.
Even in the U.S. obviously too, but there's just some seedy places, especially when you don't speak the language. That like I'm not taking risks, and
And
especially
you just
him.
you're just trusting locals kind of blindly.
Yeah.
Like,
Luckily, I think part of it is he's so loved around the world, and two, obviously he has a security team, which is necessary. Because there's people like everywhere he goes. I remember seeing videos of him in South Korea. He's like in a restaurant, and they turn the camera, and there's like 50 people just waiting outside the restaurant. And luckily, like none of them have like bad intentions or anything, but you never know. And it's just something like that. It's just so scary.
it takes one person to do some
Literally
crazy
one.
stuff like that.
Yep.
Actually, this is a bit off topic, but I saw like another female streamer was like held at gunpoint or something for like
What?
a robbery yesterday, like the same day too. So it's like, again, like I think it's just a thing with internet culture where there are just a lot of creeps out there, unfortunately, who watch this content. So naturally, that content creators are more prone to, you know, if they choose to do something.
100%. And listen, and the reason why I even want to make this comment, I even hate the fact that I had to make it, but I feel like you guys kind of already alluded to it. It takes one person. We all grew up in an era where we saw rappers, you know, rap was one of the things that kind of brought our friend group back in high school. Like that's one of the main things we talk about all the time, right? But if you think about the era that we are a part of, like grew up in an era where we saw lots of tragic rapper deaths, and a lot of those were attributed to being a little bit careless when it came to showing your surroundings, right? Like Pop Smoke posting up a photo of like that showed like a bit of his address before he got gunned down. Not exactly the same, but like Takeoff was like with his friends and like with his people playing a game of dice, and you know it went wrong, and then you know just there was one scuffle, and then he caught a stray bullet. There was another person I had in mind, and PNB Rock, literally PNB Rock, which was probably like the most like sad, like obvious example where you saw him actually put up, or like I think it was his girlfriend, the location of where they were eating, and then not too long after he gets gunned down. So we've seen how scary of a place the internet can be. So I really do hope, you know, like you guys said, Speed is so beloved, and anyone really who goes on and takes that risk, I hope they are aware. I'm sure they are, but like even then, like I still am wishing that like, all right, I hope things, you know, we don't have to experience anything like that again, because those are just very weird things, because you see how powerful the internet can be. And I think
traumatizing, I'm sure, for them too, because it's like, how do you even go out to the grocery store after something like that?
Right, 100%. And I think too, it's like, it's even, I think streaming, and I hope that there's some kind of research that's done about this, if not already, but like I think streaming, this era that we live in, where streaming and podcasting too, but we're talking about streaming right now, but like I think one of the things it does is it creates this illusion for your fans in which they think that because they spend time with their favorite influencer for X amount of hours, they automatically know who they are and automatically feel that moment to that photo or to that, again, that phone number or whatever it was, right? So I think that's actually one of the downsides of streaming, where you have a lot of those entitled fans where they will come up to you thinking that you will say yes to them just because they mentally have spent so much time watching your content, in which they're like, yeah, like obviously such and such person is gonna say yes to my request, you know? So that's another thing that I kind of want to see more on, like the science behind it. Like, how has this shifted just the mindset of the fan base, of the audiences that are taking in this content?
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, I fully agree. But I will say, just to wrap this up on a potentially different note, and maybe this is a completely other topic we can talk about in the future. But there's one instance in which I do actually like stream sniping. And I'm not even gonna say the name of the guy. I don't want to give him any airtime, but I'm sure you'll know who it is once I describe the scenario. But there's this streamer. Actually, there's a bunch of them. I've been seeing a ton of them recently in Japan.
I hope it's not
who are
what-
doing this.
Oh,
But there's one guy who's kind of popularized it. You know what I'm talking about. But then like there's a bunch of copycat streamers doing the same thing. Yesterday I literally saw like so many clips of people just going and trashing Japan and disrespecting the locals and stuff. But there's one guy especially who's known for that. And then actually in South Korea, he was like disrespecting like just the locals there, their monuments, things like that. And because he was IRL streaming, some Koreans pulled up on him and just started scrapping him.
love to see it.
And I
Love
was
to
like,
see it.
this is the one instance where I'm not mad at it, bro. You want to come to
That
this
is
country? Yeah, you want
that
to come to
is
their
not what-
country and think they're not about it? And then you want to just disrespect their country and they pull up on you, you ask for it, bro. Like, I wasn't mad at that, bro. They were giving them the work. I saw one dude pull out a sword on him. Like, it was crazy, bro.
A sword?
He didn't actually get hit with it, but it was just crazy, bro. Like, that was the
Or
one
a
instance I was
fireman?
like, screw this guy. That was actually justified. But in general, this
Yeah.
is really a scary thing.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's a whole other issue of IRL streaming. Just people making now careers just simply
Nuisance
off being
streaming.
disruptive to people.
Mhm.
Nuisance streaming. Yeah.